Hi guys, and welcome to October, and yay, we are in Libra transit. So happy birthday to all Libras, and let's see what's going on. So really quick intro about astrological constellations and everything that we need to kind of like work on. Guys, do not forget to check your ascendant and check your moon sign, because that's sort of like going to give you different aspects of yourself. And of course, if this jives with you, you can contact me for the private reading. So let's see what is the biggie happening in the sky. And my astrology is really different. You know, nobody's going to tell me this is the way you need to do, because to me tarot is like so much more potent than astrology. So let's kind of like move into that. This week, both Mercury and in tarot, we have the Magician representing Mercury, so you can actually see the energy instead of just me telling you about Mercury. It's going to move into Scorpio, and that fiery Mars is actually moving in Libra. So Mercury is really, as you know, during Mercury retrograde, communication issues. So yes, it kind of like symbolizes how we talk and think, and how do we really exchange things, how do we communicate, right, with each other, with ourselves, kind of like pulling things together. It kind of like really talks about what we do daily, talks about short trips, and also kind of like trade and commerce and exchanges like of that kind of like sort. Meanwhile, Mars, which actually it's not ruled by Emperor. Oops, wrong, because Aries is kind of like ruler of Mars, but Mars really, and this is going to be hell of a reveal when I tell you. For those of you who know, you already know which card I'm going to pull. This actually is Mars card, Tower. And so Mars is basically all about energy. So when it kind of like occurs in our charts, it's kind of like boosting the activity of this area. So let's put it in perspective, because Mars is now showing up during Libra transition, and this is Libra card. In the background, we just have Saturn that goes direct, that went direct, and so now, if you're on my newsletter, you knew that we actually shifted to new timelines. It was like few things simultaneously happening, and if you felt last month being kind of heavy, and you didn't know what's going on, and you felt like you're climbing the walls and you're just like falling flat down, there was a reason for it. Please sign for my newsletter so you will be in the know. So when we kind of like have the Mars coming through, it's kind of like boosting the chart in our in that area, right? Activity of that area. So we are going to start feeling shift in our daily habits and conversations, and we will become more active in kind of like that area where sort of like that Mars joins the sun, wherever your sun is, and just kind of like, you need to remember the secret of life is really having low expectations. With Saturn kind of like that went direct, there are like no procrastination anymore. I think summer was, most of us had the excuse it was the summer, of course, for those of us in northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, winter was excuse. It's winter, I don't feel like it's sluggish. So we both kind of had the same excuse. But this kind of like all ended on September 18th at 13 degrees Capricorn. And this Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and it kind of like does feel, Capricorn is his ruler, but it's almost like the middle finger, right, when it is reversed, right? So retrograde motion is basically time when karma is sorted out, because this is the planet of karma. And so therefore Saturn retrograde is a double dose of that karma. So if you guys didn't get karma reading with me, it's very intense. It really tells you, hey, this is what you did in past life, this is what you promised to yourself. With all the wisdom, you're going to kind of like drag in this one, you want to resolve it, you know, like when we can, today I'm going to really kind of like handle this. That's kind of like, it's the entire life chart. So when and what was happening, it kind of like felt that past and present and future kind of like blurred together. And if you have been in the past and kind of like dealing with that, you know, events occurred to teach us a lesson. And Saturn is generally difficult ruler. It's kind of like, did you learn it? I really need you to know. And when I ask you this question, when I wake you up from a dream, you will get it. Not only that you're going to tell me blah, blah, blah. So the lessons that have been associated with Saturn retrograde kind of like really relate to our thoughts and our words. Some of us decided, hey, I'm going to communicate better. I'm not going to be quick to curse. And you're going to see that people will be cleaning their language. People who didn't clean the language, who continues to kind of like be mean and jump quickly to conclusions and to judgments, these people stayed on different old timelines. So what does that mean? That means you still have issues, you didn't resolve them. The bad part is going to last 12 years. So ask yourself if you really shifted or you didn't shift it, or you're just simply repeating the old patterns from the past. This in particular is going to be especially challenging if you have history of teasing or verbally abusing people. And this is becoming very prevalent. All of us kind of a little bit guilty of that. Internet is like a sneaky place where you just want to, you dislike my nail polish. You dislike something. I'm going to just tell you. We need to kind of pull back with Saturn, because Saturn is telling us, really, is this really who you are? And now turning direct is giving us a much brighter outlook, especially for making really important decisions about your home, your family, and relationships. So ta-da, everything is here. And when we are going through Libra transit, it's really talking about a major transformation. So this is where we are almost like, think about it, we have building our case, we kind of like made advances, we kind of like are understanding the areas of life which you kind of like need to do it. The Tower is saying, okay, this is collapsing, and we need to collapse certain areas of our lives and say rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. But then, Mercury is saying to us, you can do it. You have all the tools. You have been through all the lessons. You just need to pull it together, and you need to detangle anything that has been going on. Look at how powerful this month will be. So let's just jump in and see what is particularly important for your own sign. Hello Sagittarius, so welcome to October. Let's see what this month is bringing to you. First and foremost, this is kind of like falling in your 11th house. So that is very familiar to me, being Aquarius, kind of like friends and kind of like groups and technology. And this is like something you really, really like, right? But this is also kind of like inviting for the party and inviting kind of like gathering to happen, right? So until the 23rd of October, we are going through transit of Libra, and you like pretty cozy Libra, as many of you have Venuses in Libra, because they just go too off to one side and to other side. So you kind of really like that energy, right? But on October 23rd, we are entering into kind of like that Oputius kind of like station, right? So where is like transitioning to Scorpio. So that's when kind of like is that energizer Mars that is really happening, right? So I think that Mars is in Libra from October 4th to November 19th. It's cleaning, I think, whole bunch of stuff, such as, you're going to even say, you know what, I'm not sleeping well, I really need to deal with this. You might even kind of like invest yourself into some completely different setup about that, because it's going to be a lot about relaxation and who makes you feel comfortable, but it's also going to be quite a bit about teamwork that will be very, very important. I also think this is going to be a busy bee month where you will be invited to lots of things, but make sure you don't burn yourself out, because Mars usually kind of like does stuff like that, kind of like happening to us, and then we kind of like get confused. So Mars is in detriment position, which means it is in Libra, and it's kind of in a weakened position because Mars is warrior and Libra is negotiator and peacemaker. So completely two different attitudes, right? So either have a war or you negotiate. You kind of like rarely kind of like have two things together, right? So you also might be overestimating what you can handle. This is kind of like typical Sagittarians, right? So it's going to be really, really important. So also this month you might have some kind of like micromanaging tendencies, or maybe even controlling, but I really think that is sort of like going to start to kind of like minimize. Maybe you kind of like walked into this month under that kind of like guise. What do you have here? You have 2 of Pentacles and you have 7 of Pentacles or Earth in this particular deck. And then you have like 10 of Sea. It could have been that there was like an issue about family that you really didn't know if you're coming, if you're going. Also kind of like sort, because we are also dealing here as of October 3rd with Pluto that kind of like enters because it just woke up. 5 months sleep since April 24th, and this is a planet of karma. So there was like something that is happening that really, really goes back in your past, right? And it's also kind of like telling us, okay, did you deal with this? Did you do your homework? And if so, okay, this is done and over with, kind of like a thing, right? But for you, it kind of like falls in the 2nd house, and this is like work and money. And I can see here that for those of you who kind of already have families, you're going to really wonder how to push it forward, because it looks like you felt limited in the transition since April for sure. Maybe you had power struggles, maybe you have lost your job, maybe you just like felt, oh my gosh, I'm just in the wrong place, I just hate it here, kind of a thing. But now when it's kind of like going forward, you're going to feel in control. You're going to regain your sense of power, and you're going to feel like, okay, I'm in the driver's seat over here, because look, we can see this instability clearly showing up. It's kind of like takes lots of balancing to keep these like 2 apples over here. But you know, you have realized that it's only one way to go. I really need to be patient. I really need to kind of like push this in this direction. Maybe not, I didn't succeed in everything, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to get me somewhere like I'm in further. So then you have Ace of Earth. This is absolutely lovely, my favorite ace. You have Sexy Queen or Sky Queen in this particular deck. And wow, we have another ace, Ace of Fire. Oh la la. So this is like earth and fire here handling the situation. So this can actually also talk that maybe there's like somebody from the past, or there's like an issue from the past that is getting re-energized in kind of like one aspect or another. It could be somebody who has air, very prominent air, earth or water, but air is the most signified over here. What else you have? You have 5 of Fire. You have the Tower. Oh my gosh, and you have Earth Kitten. Oh la la, guys. It almost looks like there is a person from your past with whom you're already together with, but it could be that you're not. It could be that you have been waiting on someone, waiting for something to happen. It could have been a situation where maybe somebody was juggling, maybe there was an extra partner or even marriage involved in the situation. Sorry to say, guys, you always have such a complex reading over here, right? So I really think that this could be a little bit of a blaming spree over here, you know. If this was you guys, you need to understand that you have played a part in the situation, and then, you know, this kind of whole perfect balance that really need to be established kind of like change dynamics, right? It could have been that underlying issue that maybe one person wanted something, another one didn't, because look at that, when we enter into Scorpio, things might really change, right? So you kind of like really need to step back from or maybe let's say make a first step and step back from any kind of like insidiary relationship, and kind of like take this like higher end perspective, bird's eye view, almost as if, you know, like, I mean, try to observe it as if it's not you who have participated. And it might be challenging around the 2nd and around the 13th of the month for you, especially on the 13th, when we actually have Aries full moon, and we are seeing that here as well with the Tower showing up, because Tower card is represented with Mars. And so it could be a Scorpio that you're getting involved with as well. It could be Aries that you're getting involved with, or they're like playing a prominent role over here. So this is for you happening in your 5th house, which actually we are seeing it over here. In your 5th house, your house of passion, and a house of love and self-expression and self-love, right? So I really think there's going to be some kind of like romantic interludes over here. Maybe somebody contacted you and you really didn't know what to do that, or you contacted someone but it just, you feel it went to the spam box, or you went to the garbage box. Maybe the contact was not returned. And at the same time, for those of you who are in a relationship, you kind of like are dealing a little bit, kind of playing poker with sweaty palm, as they call it, right? So I really think that you have to really, really be careful of speaking first and thinking later, which is something that you Sagittarians have very much in common with us Aquarians, because you will maybe run the risk, and that's why the Tower is really showing up, right? Of maybe kind of like squawking about your insecurities to someone else. And that happens very, very often. We project what we are going through on somebody else. You are this, you are this, you are this, where we are actually the one who are creating this whole wobbly situation, right? So also I can see this like desire for excitement. Ace of Fire is like very, very exciting, right? So, you know, I really think also it's connecting with stability. There's like this Queen of Swords over here. So as I said, it could be an air sign, but this person here is clearly somebody who has been very hurt. This could have been you guys. This could be that you're saying, well, I really want someone. There's like really somebody who is, I guess, a love interest or significant other, right? But this is like, to me, telling soon. And this is also falling, as I said, in your 11th house. So your Aquarian friends will play a prominent role in this particular month. It's going to be very, very important, right? So also when we hit that, you know, Aries full moon, then maybe something that has been on the sidelines, maybe something has been just, you know, attraction, it's going into the next stage, kind of like consummation. But now it's going to get tangled up as well, right? So it is the 5th house, guys. Keep it in mind. It could be it could be actually more than one kind of like admirer here, that I really have to tell you, because it kind of looks like everything that is happening this month is not simply, oh, you know, I just want to jump your bone kind of a thing, right? It's almost like that there is a muse, or there is like that specific person, that soulmate, kindred spirit, twin flame, whatever you want to call it, quality, right? That has been existing, right? And there's like something that is a spark like no other. Look at that. Look at this fire. Somebody is like really kind of like, baby, I'll light your fire kind of a thing, right? So it is very important, like, I mean, that around that time, around that October 13th, you kind of like really pay attention, because this very much is maybe knocking on your door this time to last. You are very suspicious about it, because it looks like you raised your hopes very high and it just like fell flat on your face, right? However, October 23rd is going to be the next stage. Then we are entering Scorpio, and this is when it turns into your 12th house, and 12th house is like rest and also endings. So these two cards are mirroring each other. So look at this, from a very lovely family situation, maybe you think, oh, I have it all down packed, everything is freaking working out, to holy freaking God, earthquake. Something that you thought you did it, maybe you missed kind of like few points, maybe certain T's were not crossed, I's were not dotted, and now it's like, oh my God, right? Because this is going to be a learning phase. When the tower hits us like that, tower is really talking about that something was mirage, something was delusion in the first place, something couldn't have worked, and because it's ruled with Mars, it happens like suddenly. It just like hits you, and hits you to the point that you have panic attack or anxiety attack, something like that. So it's going to tell you that maybe also somebody you really wanted, that special soulmate. Maybe you had a woman that you wanted, that you put on a pedestal, or you idolize somebody, right? So now this is like really revealing to you and telling you really have to go down, and you really have to kind of like really understand what you're all about and what you really, really want, right? This is really talking about force changed, right? Change is really difficult, especially when we don't want to do the change. It's like you're all dressed up, you're going to the concert, and your tire kind of like blows up. So now you have to roll up your sleeves or your beautiful dress and change it or deal with that. And like it has kind of like this delay and consequences that are happening. So this is really actually ultimately a good card. It affects us all equally. It could have been that you've been dealing with somebody who is Scorpio or Aries, as I said, and now it is really time of reckoning, that you really need to really kind of like be really, really clear about certain situation, right? So it's going to be the situation that is going to last all the way. So that's, as I said, like it really falls really nicely into that October 13th. You're going to just see, just made it. I made this Aries full moon. And then 3 days later, kind of like something happens, right? It could be just like around that time. I'm seeing that, but it's also possible it's going to happen around 21st when we are switching into Scorpio. So keep in mind that when you get into this 12th house of rest and endings, which is the shift after October 23rd, right? It's going to feel like really, really exciting. And there's like a lots of growth. There are like lots of new things. And this is like probably a card that is extremely appealing to you. You guys like exploration. You like travel. Travel is a part of exploration. Books, movies, right? So look at this kitten. Like kitten got a new friend, this porcupine. And hey, the more the merrier. Like everything is okay. When we are children, we kind of like don't have these preconceived notions. We are learning everything organically, and we do not make stereotypes over here. So your sign is basically the one that almost like remains child entire life, right? So it's going to feel that there is like the ending and there is also beginning, right? So that's kind of like that Scorpio new moon that is going to start happening around the 27th. And I really feel that you have been swimming upstream. You really wanted certain things to happen. You really wanted even to reach some kind of like clarity, but it really felt that you really couldn't. Maybe there is a person, or even two, or even 10. How many do we have it over here? Do we have them 10 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, you have 10. So it really talks about this group of people, right? That maybe you have been in conflict. Maybe, that person is, but I think it's really one person. Or, as I said, it could have been something about almost like a pregnant pause that you have been in a waiting of seeing how something will evolve. Maybe this person is finally going to say, okay, I'm laying down my sword, or you might finally say enough, or see true colors of this person, or somebody who is a friend is just betraying you, right? Because look at this, somebody, or it could have been that something from the past is like, I mean, returning back in your own mind that you have been told something long time ago, and now it's kind of like happening here. Almost like, as I said to you, these dreams will be happening to you, and you will have equally potent months in reality and in your dreams, because there is like this shift over happening. So just keep in mind, guys, that you might be a little bit of a control freak, right? And you might kind of like, again, try to kind of like rule how things move forward. So that's micromanaging that I really told you. It is really important. And lastly, I know this is the end of the month, but on the 31st, we are entering into Mercury retrograde. We are actually entering the shadow a little bit before, right? So it might kind of like feel, from everything that I'm seeing over here, that you're going to go, okay, I need to look for a therapist, or I need vacation, or, you know, but it's falling at the same time with kind of like Mercury retrograde. So be careful of traveling and how you book it, etc. I really feel that toward the end of the month, it could be some old fears that will resurface, kind of like, or trust issues, right? So there is like this kind of old things that maybe you feel, okay, I'm not getting any younger, and there are like few people in my life that I feel I didn't fulfill my karmic promise. Should I go to them or should not? So almost looks like ever since this shadow hits, there will be somewhere these dreams and these people may be coming from the woodwork and kind of like dealing with this, right? So I do feel that it's going to be something about holidays. Either you're going to start planning or looking at it or something, but it's going to be some kind of like a powerful surge of moving forward, a new perspective, a new ways of looking at things as well, right? So if it's not a travel, it's clearly a journey, as I said, something new. And it could be something that has happened with the family, or happened with, maybe you made a choice already in the past and now you are repositioning yourself in this choice and saying, oh my freaking god, you know, like the Bachelor series, they kind of like choose one and then, oh, did I make a mistake? And then they go and renege and just go back, right? So be very important here to let's to be clear over here, right, that this almost looks like that is going to be a breakthrough in something that is like really significant. But even though at that moment it's going to feel, I want to murder you, and oh my gosh, I can't because I cannot get a grip, right? But it's going to land really, really well. It's going to land, okay, I need to go back to where I was. There was like something that you have learned from the Pluto retrograde. You have learned that slow and steady wins the race. You have learned that. You have applied these principles and these principles worked. But you are still feeling that you're not fulfilling some inner urge or some inner promise toward yourself. But this doesn't mean that you cannot use principles that you have learned how to deal with in crisis, or how to deal when the storm kind of like surges. It almost like tells me there'll be lots of old feelings. There's going to be lots of this repressed gunk. I mean, whether this is Aquarius or the symbol represents air or Queen of Air, it really talks about thoughts, connectivity of some kind of like a point, and maybe something is off center, maybe something was really volatile, right? So it is really important that toward the end of the month you are really being gentle with yourself, and that as you're moving through all these emotions, and maybe this is simply that surge of things that happen, right? Just make sure that you have people who are supporting, right? Some loyal friends. And if you don't want to load it on your friends, then as I said, therapist or tarot reader, hello, gettarot.ca, is going to make a difference in this particular situation. But nonetheless, you guys are moving forward. You're turning a new leaf. New things are happening. And at this stage, you are like more in the power seat, and you're feeling, okay, I had to drop certain things off because it was heavy at that stage, but now I know I really miss it. And now I really know I need it. And most importantly, now I really know that I want it. So if Sagittarius, you might actually call someone and say, I want you, or that call can be made to you. So it's going to be a really, really interesting month, because you will need to assess lots of different angles and kind of like work it. So my dear Saggies, I hope to get your comments. Please make sure you check your ascendant and you check your moon sign. And to get a reading with me, it is cattarot.ca or my email. Both of them, the website and email, are down in the description. I think it's going to show up on the screen any moment. And let's go from there. So have a wonderful month. I would not really shun this reading. It's really cute. And so let's see what happens. Love you guys, and talk to you soon.
Ah!